The morning sun peeked through the thin curtains of Lily's one-bedroom apartment as the alarm blared for the third time. She groaned, reaching over to silence it, knowing she couldn't afford to hit snooze again. Her shift at the Golden Fork started in exactly 1 hour, and her boss, Mr. Patel, had already given her a warning about tardiness last week. Lily swung her legs over the side of the bed and glanced at the upright piano against the wall. It was the only item of real value in her small living space, a Yamaha that had seen better days, but still produced the rich tones that made her heart soar whenever she played it. Her fingers itched to press the keys, to lose herself in Debussy or Chopin for just a few minutes. But time wasn't on her side this morning. Later, she whispered to it. Like an old friend, she was disappointing. The bathroom mirror revealed dark circles under her eyes, evidence of last night's late practice session. The elderly couple next door had gone to visit their daughter, which meant Lily could play until midnight without worrying about complaints. These rare opportunities were precious, and she never wasted them, even if it meant functioning on 4 hours of sleep the next day. 20 minutes later, dressed in the Golden Fork's required uniform, black slacks, white button-up shirt, and a ridiculous gold bow tie, Lily grabbed her bag and rushed out the door. The bus was crowded as usual, filled with other early morning workers heading downtown. She squeezed into the last available seat, next to a man in a business suit who barely looked up from his phone. The Golden Fork was located in the financial district, nestled between towering glass buildings where people made more money in a day than Lily made in a month. It was an upscale restaurant with white tablecloths, crystal glasses, and prices that made her wince whenever she handed customers the menu. But the tips were good, especially during lunch when executives expensed their meals and Lily needed every dollar. Cutting it close again, Jenny, the hostess, raised an eyebrow as Lily rushed through the door with just 5 minutes to spare. Bus was late, Lily lied, tying her apron around her waist. Mr. Patel here yet? In his office. The morning delivery came in short again. He's on the phone giving someone an earful. Lily nodded, relieved. She clocked in and headed to the back to prepare her section for the breakfast crowd. The restaurant was quiet now, but in an hour, it would be buzzing with investment bankers, lawyers, and corporate executives discussing business deals over eggs Benedict and French toast. As she folded cloth napkins into perfect triangles, Lily's mind drifted to the piece she'd been working on last night. Liszt's La Campanella. It was technically challenging, pushing the limits of her abilities, but that's what she loved about it. The rapid hand crossings and jumps demanded precision and control. When she closed her eyes, she could see the sheet music, feel the keys under her fingers. Earth to Lily, a voice snapped her back to reality. It was Roy, one of the other servers. Table 7 needs coffee refills, and 12 just got seated with a party of 4. On it, she said, tucking away thoughts of music and focusing on the job at hand. The morning rush blended into the lunch crowd without a break. Lily moved efficiently between tables, taking orders, delivering food, and clearing dishes. Most customers barely looked at her. She was just a pair of hands that brought their meals and took away their empty plates. Occasionally, someone would thank her with a smile, but most continued their conversations as if she were invisible. Table 12 was particularly difficult. 4 men in expensive suits celebrating a closed deal. They ordered multiple rounds of drinks despite the early hour and became progressively louder. One of them, with a gold watch that probably cost more than Lily's yearly rent, snapped his fingers to get her attention when she passed by. Hey, sweetheart, we need another round. And make it quick this time. Lily forced a smile and nodded, biting back the response she wished she could give. This was the part of the job she hated most. The reminder that to some people she was nothing more than a servant, someone beneath them. But she needed the job, needed the tips, so she swallowed her pride and brought their drinks with the same professional courtesy she showed everyone. By 3 in the afternoon, the lunch rush had died down and Lily finally had a moment to breathe. She leaned against the wall in the kitchen, massaging her aching feet. 8 hours of standing and rushing around had taken their toll. You okay? Asked May, one of the line cooks. She was scraping down the grill preparing for the dinner shift. Just tired. Double shift today. May winced in sympathy. That's rough. You've been doing a lot of those lately. Lily shrugged. Rent's due next week and I'm still short. What she didn't say was that she also needed to pay for her piano tuner. The old Yamaha was starting to sound off in the upper register, and if she didn't get it fixed soon, her practice sessions would suffer. It was an expense she couldn't really afford but also couldn't bring herself to postpone. "You should find a rich husband from one of these tables," May joked, gesturing toward the dining room with her chin. "Problem solved," Lily laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Right, because they're all just waiting to sweep the waitress off her feet. Hey, it happens in movies. This isn't a movie, May." 3 years ago, Lily's life had been on a completely different track. She had been accepted to the National Conservatory of Music with a partial scholarship, the culmination of 15 years of lessons, practice, and performances. Piano had been her life since she was 7 years old, when her mother had scraped together enough money for a used keyboard and basic lessons. Then her mother got sick. Cancer. Stage 4. The medical bills piled up quickly and Lily's choice became clear. She deferred her acceptance, took the waitressing job, and moved her mother into her small apartment where she could care for her. For 18 months, Lily's life revolved around work shifts and hospital visits, her dreams of musical greatness fading with each passing day. Her mother had passed away 6 months ago. The funeral costs had depleted what little savings Lily had managed to accumulate, leaving her with nothing but grief and an apartment that felt too empty, too quiet. "You should play for Mr. Patel," May said, interrupting Lily's thoughts. "The restaurant has that fancy grand piano that nobody ever touches except on special events." It was true. The Golden Fork had a beautiful black Steinway in the corner of the main dining room. It was mostly for show, though occasionally they hired musicians for private events or holiday dinners. "Mr. Patel doesn't even know I play," Lily replied. "So tell him, maybe he'd let you perform on weekends. Extra money, right?" Lily shook her head. "I'm not ready for that." The truth was more complicated. She wasn't sure she could bear to play in front of people again, to expose that part of herself that was still raw with disappointment and loss. The dinner shift was slower than lunch, but dragged on longer. By the time Lily clocked out at 11, her feet were throbbing and her back ached from carrying heavy trays. The tips had been decent, though, enough to cover this week's groceries and put a small amount toward rent. The night air was cool as she waited for the bus. Downtown was quieter now, though still alive with late-night workers and people heading to bars or clubs. Lily sat on the bench at the bus stop, watching a street musician a few yards away playing guitar for spare change. His case lay open on the sidewalk, a few bills and coins scattered inside. He wasn't very good, his rhythm was off and he missed chords, but people occasionally tossed money his way as they passed. Lily wondered what would happen if she brought her keyboard downtown and played on the street. Would people stop to listen? Would they recognize the complex arrangements she had memorized, the hours of practice behind each piece? Or would they walk by tossing coins without really hearing? The bus arrived, nearly empty at this late hour. Lily took a seat by the window and leaned her head against the cool glass, watching the city lights blur together. By the time she reached her stop, she was fighting to keep her eyes open. Her apartment welcomed her with silence. She kicked off her shoes, dropping her bag on the counter and checking the time. Almost midnight. She should sleep, tomorrow was another early shift. But as she passed the piano, she paused. Lily sat on the bench, running her fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them. Then, despite her exhaustion, she began to play. Softly at first, mindful of neighbors, but soon lost in the music. Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. Hanai No. 2. Her body swayed with the melody, fingers dancing across the keys with a grace and confidence that was entirely absent in her work persona. Here at this piano, she wasn't just a waitress. She wasn't invisible. Here she was an artist, a creator of beauty. Here she could express everything she couldn't put into words. Her grief, her dreams, her determination. The final notes hung in the air, and Lily realized there were tears on her cheeks. She wiped them away with the back of her hand and closed the piano lid gently. Tomorrow would be another day of carrying plates and taking orders, of being overlooked and underestimated. But maybe May was right. Maybe it was time to stop hiding this part of herself. As she crawled into bed, Lily made a decision. She would talk to Mr. Patel about the piano. Not tomorrow, maybe not even next week, but soon. Something had to change. She couldn't keep living this double life forever. 2 weeks passed and Lily still hadn't found the courage to talk to Mr. Patel about the piano. Each time she worked up her nerve, something stopped her. A busy shift, his bad mood, or her own doubts creeping in. What if he laughed at her? What if he said no? Worse still, what if he said yes and she froze up in front of an audience? It was Friday morning when Lily arrived at work to find the Golden Fork in a state of barely controlled chaos. The usual calm precision of the restaurant staff had been replaced by frantic activity. Extra tables were being set up in the main dining area, and flower arrangements more elaborate than usual adorned every surface. "What's going on?" Lily asked Jenny, who was arranging place cards at the hostess station. "The Reynolds Foundation dinner." "Don't you ever check the events calendar?" Jenny didn't look up from her task. "It's been on the books for months. Big charity thing for children's hospitals." Lily vaguely remembered hearing about it. The Reynolds Foundation was one of the city's most prestigious charitable organizations, run by old money and supported by new. Their annual fundraiser was always held at the Golden Fork and always attracted the wealthiest and most influential people in town. "All hands on deck tonight," Mr. Patel announced during the staff meeting. He was a short man with a perfectly trimmed mustache and the intense energy of someone perpetually rushing against time. Service must be flawless. These people donate millions and they expect perfection. He assigned positions and sections, rattling off names and tasks with military precision. "Lily, you'll handle tables 8 through 12. The mayor and his wife will be at 10, so make sure—" He was interrupted by the ringing of his phone. Mr. Patel glanced at the screen, frowned, and stepped away to answer. The staff could hear his voice rising in volume and pitch as the call progressed. "What do you mean he's not coming? The event is tonight." A pause. "Food poisoning? Are you sure he's not just booking another gig for more money?" Another pause. "Fine, find me a replacement." "I don't care what it costs," Mr. Patel returned to the group, his face flushed with anger. "The pianist is canceled. Apparently he ate bad shellfish last night and can barely leave the bathroom, let alone play Chopin." The staff exchanged glances. The live music was always a highlight of these events, providing elegant background ambiance as the wealthy guests networked and wrote checks. "I've told the agency to find a replacement, but on such short notice," and Mr. Patel shook his head. "It's almost impossible. We may have to use recorded music, which Mrs. Reynolds will hate." Lily felt her heart begin to race. This was it, the opportunity she'd been waiting for, dropping right into her lap. But her throat tightened at the thought of actually speaking up. These weren't just regular customers. These were the elite of the city, people who attended symphony performances and had private concerts in their homes. "I could do it," she whispered, so softly that no one heard. Mr. Patel continued assigning tasks, his mind clearly still on the pianist problem. The meeting broke up with everyone hurrying to prepare for the evening ahead. "I said I could do it," Lily repeated, louder this time, just as people were standing to leave. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to her. "You?" Mr. Patel looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. "You play piano?" Lily nodded, her cheeks burning under the collective stare of her co-workers. "I studied for 15 years. I was accepted to the National Conservatory before—" She trailed off, not wanting to share the details of her mother's illness with everyone. Mr. Patel's expression was skeptical. "This isn't amateur hour, Lily. These people expect professional quality." "I am professional quality," she said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. "I can play anything your regular pianist had planned." He studied her for a long moment. "What pieces do you know?" "Classical repertoire mostly. Chopin, Liszt, Debussy, Bach, Mozart. Some contemporary pieces too." May spoke up from across the room. "Let her audition, Mr. Patel. What have you got to lose?" Mr. Patel checked his watch. "Fine. 5 minutes at the piano, now." Lily followed him to the main dining room, her legs feeling like jelly. The staff trailed behind, curious to see if the quiet waitress could actually play. The grand piano waited in the corner, its polished black surface gleaming under the chandelier lights. It had been so long since Lily had played on a proper grand. Her fingers trembled slightly as she sat down and adjusted the bench. She took a deep breath, placed her hands on the keys, and began to play. She chose Debussy's Clair de Lune, its gentle opening perfect for calming her nerves. The first notes floated through the restaurant, crystal clear and perfectly timed. As she progressed into the piece, her body relaxed, muscle memory taking over. The restaurant, her co-workers, even Mr. Patel faded away. There was only the music. The final notes lingered in the air like a spell. When Lily looked up, she was startled to see not just the staff watching her, but also the early kitchen crew and even 2 delivery men who had stopped their work to listen. Mr. Patel's expression had transformed from skepticism to astonishment. "Where have you been hiding this talent?" he asked, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "At home, mostly," Lily said with a small smile. "My neighbors don't always appreciate Liszt at midnight." A few people chuckled, breaking the tension. "Can you handle 3 hours of playing?" Mr. Patel asked. "With appropriate breaks, of course." "Yes," Lily said without hesitation. "I have plenty of repertoire." Mr. Patel nodded decisively. "The job is yours. The event starts at 7. Be ready to begin playing at 6:30 as guests arrive." He turned to address another server. "Tom, you'll take Lily's tables tonight." As the group dispersed, reality began to sink in. Lily had just volunteered to play piano in front of the city's elite with no preparation. Panic bubbled up inside her. "What have I done?" she whispered to herself. May appeared at her side with a grin. "You just got yourself a much better gig for the night. And who knows what might come from it." "I don't even have anything to wear," Lily realized aloud. The standard server uniform wouldn't be appropriate for a pianist. "I've got a dress you can borrow," Jenny offered, surprising Lily with her kindness. "Black, simple, but elegant enough. Should fit you fine." "Thank you," Lily said, genuine gratitude in her voice. The rest of the day passed in a blur as Lily mentally arranged her program for the evening. She would start with familiar, approachable pieces as guests arrived, some Mozart, perhaps some quiet Beethoven. As dinner progressed, she could introduce more complex pieces. She made a mental list calculating timing, considering mood and atmosphere. At 5 o'clock, she slipped away to the staff bathroom with Jenny's dress. It was indeed simple, a black knee-length dress with 3/4 sleeves and a modest neckline. But the material was expensive, some kind of silky fabric that draped beautifully. Lily twisted her hair into a simple updo and applied the minimal makeup she had brought in her bag. The face that looked back at her from the mirror seemed different somehow, more confident perhaps, or maybe just terrified in a different way than usual. When she emerged, May whistled. "Look at you. No one would guess you were serving Eggs Benedict this morning." The joke helped ease Lily's nerves slightly. She made her way to the piano and sat down, running her fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them. This instrument was far superior to her old upright at home. The action was perfect, responsive to the lightest touch. She played a few quiet scales and arpeggios to warm up, then tested the pedals. Everything was in perfect working order. The piano had been immaculately maintained and recently tuned. By 6:15, the staff was in position. The dining room looked magnificent. White tablecloths, crystal glassware, silver place settings, and centerpieces of white roses and orchids. Name cards in elegant calligraphy marked each place. "Remember, nothing too heavy or dramatic during dinner," Mr. Patel instructed her. "Keep it light, elegant background music until coffee is served. Then you can show off a bit more." Lily nodded, fighting the butterflies in her stomach. At exactly 6:30, the first guests began to arrive. Lily started with Mozart's Piano Sonata No. 16 in C major, light, pleasant, and unobtrusive. Her fingers moved effortlessly across the keys as the room gradually filled. Most guests paid her little attention, focused on greeting each other and finding their tables. Occasionally, someone would glance her way or pause briefly to listen before moving on. Lily kept her eyes on the keys, afraid that making eye contact might break her concentration. As 7 o'clock approached, the room was nearly full. The volume of conversation had risen, but Lily could still hear the notes. Clearly, as she transitioned to Beethoven's Für Elise, she was just beginning the middle section when she sensed someone standing. Beside the piano, Lily looked up to see an elderly woman in an elegant blue dress watching her with interest. Her silver hair was styled impeccably and a single strand of pearls adorned her neck. "You're new," the woman said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am," Lily replied, her fingers never faltering on the keys. "What happened to Anton?" "I believe he's ill, ma'am." The woman nodded, still studying Lily with sharp eyes. "You play beautifully." "Trained at the conservatory?" "Almost," Lily said, focusing on the transition back to the main theme. "I was accepted but couldn't attend." Was all the woman said before walking away. Only when Mr. Patel hurried over to escort the woman to the head table did Lily realize she had been speaking to Mrs. Reynolds herself, the chairwoman of the foundation and the host of the evening. As dinner was served, Lily continued playing, moving through her mental program. She kept the volume controlled, the selections appropriate for dining. No one paid her much attention, which was both a relief and, strangely, a disappointment. She took her first break as dessert was being served, slipping away to the kitchen for water and to rest her hands. The staff was too busy to chat, but May gave her a thumbs up as she passed. "How's it going?" Jenny asked, refilling water glasses on her way back to the dining room. "Good, I think," Lily replied. "No one's thrown tomatoes at me yet." "They're actually listening," Jenny said. "I've worked this event 3 years in a row, and usually the piano is just background noise. But people are actually noticing you're playing." The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. When Lily returned to the piano, the atmosphere in the room had shifted. Dinner was over, coffee and cognac were being served, and Mr. Patel nodded at her, the signal that she could play something more substantial. Taking a deep breath, Lily began Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, the same piece she had played in her apartment 2 weeks ago, but this time on a magnificent instrument in a room full of people who could change her life if they only knew what music meant to her. This was her chance to be heard. Really heard, and Lily was determined not to waste it. As Lily played the familiar notes of Chopin's Nocturne, something shifted in the atmosphere of the dining room. The constant buzz of conversation began to dim. One by one, guests paused their discussions to listen. By the time she reached the middle section, with its flowing arpeggios and delicate melody, the room had grown remarkably quiet. Lily kept her eyes on her hands, afraid to look up and break the spell. The Steinway responded to her touch perfectly, allowing her to shape each phrase with a sensitivity her old upright piano at home could never match. She leaned into the music, her body swaying slightly as she reached the more passionate sections. When the final notes faded away, there was a moment of complete silence, that precious instant between the end of a piece and the audience's reaction. Then, to Lily's surprise, applause broke out. Not just polite acknowledgement, but genuine, enthusiastic applause. She looked up, startled, to see many of the guests turned in their chairs to face her. Mrs. Reynolds, at the head table, was smiling broadly. Mr. Patel, standing near the kitchen door, gave her an approving nod. Emboldened by the response, Lily decided to take a risk. Instead of returning to the lighter pieces she had planned, she launched into Liszt's La Campanella, the challenging piece she had been practicing in her apartment. Its sparkling, bell-like opening notes rang through the room, immediately capturing attention. La Campanella was a showpiece, designed to display a pianist's technical prowess. The rapid hand crossings, huge leaps, and intricate fingering demanded absolute precision and control. At home, Lily still struggled with certain passages, but tonight, carried by some combination of adrenaline and the excellent instrument beneath her fingers, she found herself playing it better than she ever had before. Her hands flew across the keyboard, reaching for impossible intervals, executing trills and jumps that would make even seasoned pianists nervous. She forgot about her audience, about being a waitress, about everything except the music and the challenge of bringing these notes to life. At one particularly difficult passage, Lily felt herself teetering on the edge of control. For a heart-stopping moment, she thought she might stumble, but her fingers found their way, muscle memory and thousands of hours of practice carrying her through. When she struck the final chord, her heart was racing, and her forehead was damp with perspiration. This time, the applause was immediate and even more enthusiastic. Several people rose to their feet. Lily felt her cheeks flush with a mixture of exhilaration and embarrassment. Mrs. Reynolds stood and approached the piano once more. "Young lady, that was extraordinary. Where did you study?" "I'm mostly self-taught," Lily explained, which wasn't entirely true but easier than explaining her complicated history. "I had a good teacher when I was younger." "Self-taught?" Mrs. Reynolds looked skeptical. "And you work here as—" "A waitress," Lily admitted. "This is my first time playing the piano here." Murmurs rippled through the nearby tables as guests realized the evening's entertainment was being provided not by a professional musician, but by one of the restaurant's servers. "Well," said Mrs. Reynolds, her eyebrows raised, "you've certainly been hiding your light under a bushel, haven't you? Please continue. I believe everyone is enjoying your performance tremendously." As Mrs. Reynolds returned to her seat, Lily noticed several people had taken out their phones. Were they filming her? The thought made her nervous but also sent a thrill through her. She had dreamed of performing for appreciative audiences since she was a child. Now, in this unexpected venue, it was happening. For the next hour, Lily played piece after piece, drawing from her extensive repertoire. She moved from Liszt to Rachmaninoff, then to some gentler Debussy and back to Chopin. Each selection seemed to resonate with the audience in a different way. The more technically impressive pieces earned loud applause, while the more emotional ones created a hushed atmosphere of appreciation. During one of her brief pauses between pieces, Lily noticed a man at a nearby table watching her intently. He was middle-aged with salt and pepper hair and wore an expensive suit that somehow looked more natural on him than on most of the other guests. Unlike many in the room who were now splitting their attention between their phones and their companions, this man was fully focused on her playing. When she began Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, she found herself playing it for him, curious if he would recognize the depth and subtlety she was trying to bring to this often performed piece. His expression remained thoughtful, his gaze never wavering. As the evening progressed, Lily lost all sense of time. Her planned program went out the window as she responded to the mood of the room, playing whatever felt right in the moment. When she finally looked at the clock, she was shocked to see that nearly 3 hours had passed. The event was drawing to a close. Guests were beginning to say their goodbyes, though many lingered longer than they might have otherwise, caught by the music. Mr. Patel appeared at her side. "You can finish after this piece," he said quietly. "You've done more than enough." Lily nodded, feeling both relieved and oddly disappointed. She had been nervous about playing for 3 hours, but now she felt she could continue all night. Her fingers were tired, but not painfully so, and the thrill of performance had energized her in a way she hadn't experienced in years. For her final piece, she chose Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, not the full orchestral version, of course, but the piano arrangement. It was a crowd pleaser that showcased both technical skill and emotional range, and it felt like the perfect bridge between classical and modern to end the night. The opening glissando captured everyone's attention one last time. Lily poured everything she had into the performance, knowing this might be her only chance to play for an audience like this. The bluesy section swung with genuine feeling, and the grand, sweeping themes soared through the restaurant. By the time she reached the triumphant conclusion, only about half the original guests remained, but they made up for smaller numbers with their enthusiasm. The applause was the loudest yet, with several people standing. Mrs. Reynolds approached again, this time with a distinguished-looking gentleman beside her. "That was magnificent, my dear. I wanted to introduce you to my husband, Douglas." Mr. Reynolds extended his hand. "Remarkable playing, young lady. Absolutely remarkable." "Thank you, sir," Lily said, suddenly aware of how damp her palms were as she shook his hand. "We host a summer garden party at our estate each year," Mrs. Reynolds said. "Live music is always a feature. I'd like you to be one of our performers this year." Lily blinked in surprise. "I'd be honored." "Wonderful. I'll have my assistant contact you." Mrs. Reynolds handed her a business card. "Call this number next week and we'll make arrangements." As the Reynolds moved away to say goodbye to other guests, Lily stared at the card in her hand. It was heavy cream-colored cardstock with embossed lettering. It felt like a ticket to another world. She was still looking at it when the man who had been watching her so intently approached the piano. Up close, she could see that he was probably in his early 50s, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. "That was something special," he said without preamble. "Thank you," Lily replied, unsure what else to say. "I'm Victor Chen. I teach at the National Conservatory." Lily's heart skipped a beat. The National Conservatory, where she should have been studying if life hadn't intervened. "I'm Lily," she said, suddenly feeling very much like a waitress again despite Jenny's borrowed dress. "You have exceptional talent, Lily. Your technique needs refinement in places, but your musicality is remarkable. Did you train formally?" "For many years, yes. I was actually accepted to the conservatory 3 years ago, but..." She trailed off, unsure how much to share with this stranger. "But life got in the way?" he suggested gently. Lily nodded. "It happens to many promising musicians," Victor said. "The road is rarely straight." He reached into his jacket and pulled out his own business card. "If you're interested in pursuing music seriously again, call me. We should talk about your options." Lily took the card, her hand trembling slightly. "Options? Scholarships? Special admission programs. There are always paths for exceptional talent. He smiled. And you, Lily, are exceptional. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, including yourself. Before she could respond, Victor was called away by companions ready to leave. He gave her a small wave and disappeared into the dwindling crowd. Lily sat at the piano, stunned, holding 2 business cards that represented opportunities she had never expected to have again. "Looks like you made quite an impression," Mr. Patel said, appearing beside her. His tone was different now, respectful, almost deferent. "I had no idea we had a concert pianist serving tables." "I'm not a concert pianist," Lily said automatically. "After tonight, I think you might be," he replied. "Mrs. Reynolds is a major patron of the arts in this city. If she's taken an interest in you..." He let the implication hang in the air. "Anyway, you're welcome to use the piano during off hours if you like. For practice." "Thank you," Lily said, genuinely touched by the offer. As the last guests departed, the staff began the process of cleaning up. Lily moved to help, but Mr. Patel stopped her. "Not tonight. You've earned a rest. And besides," he added with a small smile, "I can't risk those hands washing dishes." Lily gathered her things, changed back into her regular clothes in the staff bathroom, and carefully hung up Jenny's dress to return to her. As she walked through the now empty restaurant toward the exit, she passed the piano. On impulse, she ran her fingers lightly over the keys one last time. Tonight had changed something, she realized. Not just her prospects or her relationship with her co-workers, but something inside herself. The music she had kept private for so long, played only in the solitude of her apartment, had finally been shared. And people had listened, really listened. For the first time in 3 years, Lily allowed herself to feel something she had ruthlessly suppressed after her mother's diagnosis. Hope. Hope that her dreams weren't dead after all. Hope that her talent might still find its way into the world. She stepped out into the cool night air, clutching the 2 business cards like talismans. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for certain. She would never be invisible again. Lily woke the next morning to the sound of her phone buzzing repeatedly. She reached for it groggily, wondering who could be texting her so early on a Saturday. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the notifications. 12 missed calls, 27 text messages, and countless social media alerts. What in the world? She muttered, sitting up in bed. The first text was from May. "You've gone viral. Check YouTube right now." With shaky fingers, Lily opened the app and gasped. Right on the trending page was a video titled, "Waitress Stuns Elite Crowd with Incredible Piano Performance." The thumbnail showed her at the piano in Jenny's black dress, mid-performance. It already had over 300,000 views. She pressed play, her heart pounding. Someone had recorded her playing La Campanella and posted it online. The video quality wasn't great. It had clearly been shot on a phone from across the room. But the sound came through remarkably well. The caption read, "Hidden talent discovered at the Golden Fork restaurant. Waitress fills in for sick pianist and leaves wealthy crowd speechless." The comments section was overflowing. "Who is she? Does she have an album? That's Liszt's La Campanella, one of the hardest pieces ever written. I've been playing piano for 15 years and can't do this. She makes it look effortless. From serving food to serving incredible music, wow." Lily sat frozen, staring at her phone. This couldn't be happening. She had only played because the regular pianist was sick. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, not this. Her phone rang in her hand, making her jump. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Is this Lily, the pianist from the Golden Fork last night?" a woman's brisk voice asked. "Yes, this is she," Lily replied, her mouth suddenly dry. "This is Diane Walker from City Morning News. We'd love to have you on our show on Monday to talk about your performance that's gone viral. Are you available?" Lily's mind raced. A TV appearance. I'm scheduled to work on Monday," she stammered. "I'm sure your employer would understand. This is quite an opportunity. The video of your performance has over 500,000 views now and is climbing rapidly." 500,000, Lily repeated weakly. It had been 300,000 just minutes ago. "People are fascinated by your story. The waitress with hidden talent. It's captivating. We just need you for an hour, maybe 2. You'd play a short piece and we'd interview you about your background. Can I think about it and call you back?" Lily asked, feeling overwhelmed. "Of course. Don't wait too long, though. News moves fast." The woman gave her contact information and hung up. Lily flopped back on her pillow, trying to process what was happening. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. She needed coffee. And time to think. 20 minutes later, dressed in jeans and a sweater with her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, Lily sat at her small kitchen table, clutching a mug of coffee. Her phone continued to buzz with notifications, but she had silenced it, unable to deal with the flood of attention. The previous night felt like a dream now. The applause, Mrs. Reynolds' invitation, Professor Chen's business card with its promise of options. And now this, viral fame she never sought. A knock at her door startled her. She wasn't expecting anyone. Lily, open up, it's me! May's voice called from the hallway. Lily unlocked the door to find not just May, but also Jenny and two other co-workers from the Golden Fork. You're famous, May exclaimed, pushing past Lily into the apartment. Everyone's talking about you. Have you seen the news? Jenny asked, following May inside. You're on the front page of the local section. She thrust a newspaper at Lily. There it was, a photo of her at the piano taken from a different angle than the video. The headline read, Mystery Pianist Captivates at Charity Event. They're calling you Mystery Pianist because no one knew your name when they posted the videos, Jenny explained. But people are figuring it out fast. I've gotten like 50 friend requests on Facebook this morning, said Carlos, one of the bartenders. Everyone wants to know if I know you. Lily sank onto her couch, newspaper in hand. This is crazy. Crazy awesome. May corrected her. Do you know how many pianists would kill for this kind of exposure? I'm not a pianist, Lily said automatically. I'm a waitress. Not anymore, said Tom, the server who had taken her tables the previous night. Mr. Patel called me this morning. He wants to talk to you about becoming the regular weekend entertainment at the restaurant. With a real salary, not just tips. Lily stared at him in disbelief. Are you serious? Dead serious. He said the phone's been ringing off the hook all morning with people wanting to make reservations for whenever you're playing next. I don't know what to say, Lily stammered. Say yes, me insisted. This is your chance. Your big break. It's not that simple, Lily protested. I haven't performed regularly in years. One good night doesn't mean I'm ready for all this. She gestured at the newspaper and her buzzing phone. You were amazing last night, Jenny said quietly. I've never seen the crowd at a Reynolds event so captivated, and I've worked a lot of them. Thanks for letting me borrow your dress, Lily said, suddenly remembering. I'll get it back to you today, Jenny waved dismissively. Keep it. Consider it an investment in your new career. Lily's head was spinning. I need time to think. Well, think fast, Carlos advised. Fame has a short shelf life these days. You need to strike while people are still interested. After her friends left, extracting a promise from Lily that she would keep them updated on any developments, she sat in the silence of her apartment. Her gaze drifted to the upright piano against the wall. She moved to it and began to play, seeking the comfort and clarity music had always provided her. Hours passed as Lily worked through piece after piece, as if testing herself. Could she really do this? Become a performer after all these years of playing only for herself? The dream she had abandoned when her mother got sick felt suddenly, unexpectedly within reach again. Her phone rang once more. This time she answered, Hello? Lily, it's Victor Chen from the National Conservatory. We met last night at the Reynolds event. Professor Chen. Yes, of course, Lily said, her pulse quickening. I was planning to call you next week as you suggested. Well, it seems events are moving faster than either of us anticipated, he said with a chuckle. I've seen the video that's circulating. You're causing quite a stir in the music community. I'm still trying to process it all, Lily admitted. I understand, but I wanted to reach out right away. I've spoken with the Dean of Performance Studies, and we'd like to offer you an audition. It would be a formality, given what I heard last night and what's evident in the video, but necessary for our admission process. Lily gripped the phone tighter. An audition? For late admission to our program. With a full scholarship. The room seemed to tilt slightly. A full scholarship? Yes. The Reynolds Foundation has a fund specifically for exceptional talents with financial need. After Mrs. Reynolds called me this morning singing your praises, it was an easy decision. Tears pricked at Lily's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say you'll come in on Tuesday at 2 p.m. for the audition, Professor Chen replied warmly. And Lily? Bring your best. This is just the beginning. After they hung up, Lily sat at her piano again, letting her fingers rest lightly on the keys without pressing them. A full scholarship. The chance to finally study at the National Conservatory. It was everything she had dreamed of 3 years ago, before life had forced her to set those dreams aside. The buzz of her phone interrupted her thoughts. Another unknown number. With a deep breath, she answered. "Hello, this is Lily." "Lily? David Gordon here from Classical Music Today magazine. I was at the Reynolds event last night and was blown away by your performance. Would you be available for an interview?" And so it continued. Throughout the day, calls and messages poured in, from local media, from music blogs, even from a talent agent who had seen the viral video and wanted to discuss opportunities. By evening, Lily had agreed to 3 interviews, turned down 2 offers for immediate representation, and scheduled a meeting with Mr. Patel for Monday morning to discuss his offer of regular employment as the restaurant's pianist. He also had 7 missed calls from the local TV station and a text from Mrs. Reynolds herself, confirming their conversation about the summer garden party and adding, "I've taken the liberty of mentioning you to some friends on the symphony board. Don't be surprised if you hear from them." As darkness fell, Lily sat by her window looking out at the city lights. 24 hours ago, she had been preparing for another routine dinner shift at the Golden Fork. Now, her world had been turned upside down by a twist of fate, a sick pianist, a chance to step in, and a performance that had somehow resonated with people far beyond that dining room. Her phone rang again. This time it was her Aunt Rose, her mother's sister who lived across the country. "Lily, I just saw you on the internet, playing piano like an angel. Your mother would be so proud." At the mention of her mother, Lily felt tears well up again. "You think so?" "I know so, honey. She always believed in your talent even when you had doubts. She used to send me videos of your recitals, you know, always bragging about her little pianist." Lily smiled through her tears. "I didn't know that. Oh yes. She knew you were special. Everyone can see it now, but she always knew." After the call ended, Lily took out an old photo album and found a picture of her mother at Lily's last recital before the illness. Both of them smiling, her mother's arm around her shoulders, so proud, so full of life. "I wish you could see this, Mom," Lily whispered to the photograph. "It's happening. It's really happening." A knock at her door startled her. It was late now, past 10 p.m. Who would be visiting at this hour? She peeked through the peephole and was surprised to see her elderly neighbor, Mr. Kovac, standing in the hallway. He was a retired music teacher who had often complained about her late-night practicing. "Mr. Kovac," she said, opening the door. "Is everything okay?" The old man held out a slightly battered bouquet of flowers. "For you," he said gruffly. "My daughter showed me the video of you playing. She knows I live in the same building as you." "Oh," Lily said, taken aback. "Thank you. That's very kind. I want to apologize," he continued, his accent thickening with emotion, "for all the times I complained about your playing. I did not understand, did not know what gift you have." "It's okay," Lily assured him. "I know it was late and the walls are thin." No, he shook his head firmly. "Music like yours should never be silenced. Never. You play whenever you want now. I will buy earplugs." He smiled, the wrinkles around his eyes deepening. "It is worth it to live next door to such talent." As she closed the door after Mr. Kovac left, Lily realized she was smiling, really smiling, for what felt like the first time in years. She placed the flowers in a vase and set them on top of her piano. The world she had kept at bay for so long, the world of music and performance and possibility, was rushing back in. It was overwhelming and frightening and exhilarating all at once. Her phone buzzed with yet another notification. This time it was a text from May. "Have you decided what you're going to wear for your TV debut on Monday?" Lily laughed out loud. She hadn't even agreed to do the show yet, and May was already planning her outfit. But maybe that was exactly what she needed right now. Friends who believed in her, who were pushing her forward when she might otherwise hesitate. People who saw her not as just a waitress, but as the musician she had always been inside. She texted back, "Not yet. Want to help me pick something tomorrow?" The reply came instantly, "Yes!" 11 a.m. "I'll bring coffee. And fashion advice. You're going to shine, superstar." Lily set down her phone and returned to her piano. Whatever happened next, the interviews, the audition, the job offers, She would face it with music as her guide. The path that had seemed closed to her had suddenly, miraculously reopened, and this time, she was ready to walk it. 6 months had passed since the night that changed Lily's life, and she barely recognized her own reflection as she prepared for the most important performance of her career. Gone was the tired waitress with slumped shoulders and dark circles under her eyes. The woman who stared back at her from the dressing room mirror looked confident, well-rested, and undeniably happy. 5 minutes, Ms. Chen called a stagehand through the door. "Thank you," Lily called back. Taking a deep breath, she smoothed her hands over the midnight blue concert dress she'd chosen for tonight. A far cry from the borrowed black dress she'd worn at the Golden Fork. This gown had been specially made for her, a gift from Mrs. Reynolds, who had become something of a mentor over the past months. On her dressing table sat a small framed photo of her mother, brought along for good luck and the feeling of connection it gave her. Next to it was a vase containing a single white rose from Mr. Kovac, who never missed one of her performances now. The journey to this moment had been a whirlwind. After the viral video, things had moved quickly. Her appearance on City Morning News had led to more interviews, more attention. Mr. Patel had indeed offered her the position of resident pianist at the Golden Fork on weekend evenings, which she had accepted, temporarily while considering her other options. Her audition at the National Conservatory had gone even better than she'd dared hope. Professor Chen and the other faculty had listened in appreciative silence as she played a program of Bach, Chopin, and Rachmaninoff. When she finished, the dean had stood up and said simply, "Welcome to the conservatory, Ms. Chen." The full scholarship had made it possible for Lily to reduce her work hours and focus on her studies. For the first time since her mother's illness, she had been able to immerse herself fully in music. And then had come the call from Elena Vasquez, director of the City Symphony Orchestra. "I saw your performance online," Elena had said during their first meeting. "And then I attended one of your evenings at the Golden Fork. You have something special." Lily, a rare combination of technical skill and genuine emotional connection to the music. Lily had thanked her, not sure where the conversation was heading. "We have a young artist program," Elena had continued. "It includes mentorship, master classes with visiting soloists, and performance opportunities. I'd like to offer you a place." "But I'm not that young," Lily had protested. "I'm nearly 28, Elena had laughed. "In the classical music world, that's still young. And your circumstances are unusual. You're technically an advanced student returning to formal study after an interruption. The program would be perfect for you." And so, alongside her studies at the conservatory, Lily had joined the Young Artist program. For 6 months, she had worked harder than she ever had in her life, practicing 6 to 8 hours daily, attending classes, absorbing everything she could from her professors and mentors. Tonight was the culmination of those efforts, her debut solo recital at Hamilton Hall, the city's premier classical venue, the same stage where she had once dreamed of performing while attending concerts with her mother years ago. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called. May poked her head in, grinning widely. "Just wanted to wish you luck before I take my seat." "The place is packed." Lily smiled at her friend. May had been there through everything, cheering her on, helping her navigate the sudden attention, keeping her grounded when things got overwhelming. Their friendship had deepened beyond their days as co-workers. "Thanks for coming," Lily said. "I know classical piano isn't really your thing." "Are you kidding? I'm your biggest fan. I've got all your social media notifications turned on and everything." That made Lily laugh. Her reluctant entry into social media had been entirely May's doing. "You just want to say you knew me when I was serving Eggs Benedict." "Exactly. Future bragging rights." May's expression softened. "Seriously though, you're going to be amazing tonight. Just like you always are." After May left, Lily took one final look in the mirror and then picked up her mother's photo. "I made it, Mom," she whispered. "I really made it." The stagehand knocked again. "It's time, Ms. Chen." The walk from the dressing room to the stage felt both eternal and instantaneous. Lily could hear the murmur of the audience, nearly 1,000 people waiting to hear her play. 6 months ago, the thought would have terrified her. Now she felt a flutter of nerves mixed with genuine excitement. As she stepped onto the stage, the lights momentarily blinded her. The applause washed over her like a wave as she made her way to the magnificent Steinway grand piano at center stage. She took a moment to adjust the bench, then looked out at the audience. In the front row sat her supporters, May, Jenny, and several other friends from the Golden Fork. Mr. Patel was there too, looking proud and slightly smug as though her success was somehow his doing. Next to him were Mrs. Reynolds and her husband, elegant as always. Professor Chen and Elena Vasquez sat together, their presence both encouraging and slightly intimidating. Further back, Lily spotted her Aunt Rose, who had flown in specifically for this performance, and Mr. Kovac, who had insisted on attending despite his difficulty walking these days. The rest of the hall was filled with strangers, music lovers, critics, curious members of the public who had been intrigued by her story, which had continued to circulate in various forms over the past months. Lily took a deep breath, placed her hands on the keys, and began to play. Her program tonight was ambitious: a Bach prelude and fugue to start, followed by Beethoven's Appassionata Sonata, a selection of Chopin nocturnes, and finally, Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, with Elena conducting a chamber orchestra that would join her for the second half. As she played the first notes of the Bach, the familiar calm descended over her. The nervousness faded, replaced by total focus on the music. Her fingers moved with precision and grace, bringing the intricate counterpoint to life. She could feel the audience's attention, their engagement with the music she was creating. It was different from playing at the Golden Fork, where she had been background entertainment for much of the time. Here the audience had come specifically to listen, to experience the music with her. The Bach concluded to warm applause, and Lily moved directly into the Beethoven. The passionate, stormy nature of the piece matched her journey over the past months. The struggle, the triumph, the moments of doubt and the bursts of joy. During a particularly demanding passage, she had a flash of memory, herself at the upright piano in her small apartment, practicing late into the night, neighbors be damned, how far she had come from those days. The first half of the concert passed in what felt like minutes. During the intermission, Lily returned to her dressing room to find it filled with flowers that had been delivered before the performance. Cards from well-wishers, fellow students, even a few notable musicians who had heard about her debut. One arrangement caught her eye: simple white lilies with a card that read simply, "You were always meant for this. VC." Professor Chen's belief in her had never wavered, even when she doubted herself. The second half of the program was the real challenge: the Rachmaninoff Concerto. It was a piece she had loved for years but never imagined she would perform with an orchestra. As she returned to the stage and saw the chamber orchestra now assembled behind the piano, the reality of the moment hit her anew. Elena gave her an encouraging nod as she took her place at the conductor's podium. The hall fell silent, that pregnant pause before music begins. Then Lily played the famous opening chords, dark, resonant, commanding attention. The orchestra responded, and the dialogue between piano and ensemble began. The concerto was a journey in itself. From the brooding, melancholic first movement through the dreamlike second movement, and into the triumphant finale, Lily lost herself in the partnership with the orchestra, in the sweeping melodies and thundering climaxes of Rachmaninoff's music. When the final chords resounded through Hamilton Hall, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the audience erupted in applause, rising to their feet almost as one. Lily stood slightly dazed by the response and bowed deeply. Elena joined her at the front of the stage, taking her hand and raising it high in a gesture of triumph. The applause continued, washing over Lily in waves. She bowed again, then gestured to the orchestra, acknowledging their role in the performance. After several curtain calls, Lily finally made her way back to her dressing room, her heart still racing from the adrenaline of performance and the audience's reaction. She sat down at her dressing table, looking at her mother's photograph. "I wish you could have been there," she whispered. A knock at the door preceded May bursting in, followed by a stream of well-wishers: Jenny, Carlos, Tom, her Aunt Rose. "Mr. Kovacs leaning on his cane. You were incredible," Mia exclaimed, hugging her tightly. "Absolutely stunning," agreed Aunt Rose. "Your mother would have been over the moon." The Rachmaninoff. Mr. Kovacs shook his head in wonder. I have heard it many times, but never like that. Never with such feeling. As her friends chatted excitedly around her, Lily felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Elena Vasquez standing behind her. "A word when you have a moment?" Elena asked quietly. Lily nodded and followed her into the hallway. "That was exceptional," Elena said without preamble. "Even better than we hoped." "Thank you," Lily replied, still floating on the high of the performance. "I wanted to be the first to tell you that the Symphony Board has approved my recommendation. We'd like to offer you a position as one of our resident soloists for next season. It would mean performing with the full orchestra several times throughout the year, as well as solo recitals like tonight." Lily stared at her, speechless. "You don't have to answer right away," Elena continued. "Take some time to think about it. You're still studying, I know, and—" "Yes," Lily interrupted. "My answer is yes." Elena smiled. "I thought it might be. We'll talk details later. For now, go enjoy your success. You've earned it." Later that night, after the reception had ended and her friends had departed with promises to continue the celebration over brunch the next day, Lily found herself alone in the now empty concert hall. She had asked the stage manager for a few minutes of private time before leaving. She sat at the piano in the dim light, running her fingers lightly over the keys. From waitress to resident soloist with the City Symphony in 6 months. It seemed impossible, like something from a fairy tale. But it wasn't magic that had brought her here. It was talent, yes, the gift she had nurtured since childhood, but also persistence, the years of practice despite disappointment, the courage to step forward when opportunity knocked, the support of friends both old and new, and perhaps most importantly, the memory of her mother's unwavering belief in her abilities. Lily played a few quiet notes, the opening of Debussy's Clair de Lune, the piece she had played for Mr. Patel that day, when the pianist called in sick. The notes floated through the empty hall, a private thank you to the twist of fate that had set her on this path. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, the demands of her position with the symphony, the completion of her studies, the increasing public attention. There would be critics and doubters. There would be difficult pieces to master and performances that might not go as well as tonight's had. But for now, in this moment, Lily allowed herself to simply feel gratitude and joy. The journey ahead was uncertain, but she would face it with music as her compass and the memory of tonight to sustain her when doubts crept in. She played the final notes of the Debussy, letting them fade into silence. Then she closed the piano lid gently, stood, and walked toward the exit. As she reached the door, she turned for one last look at the stage. Her stage now in a way it had never been before. The hidden talent was hidden no more, and Lily Chen was exactly where she was meant to be.